Hello there, my name's Joe and welcome to my channel. Today I thought I would take just a very basic beginner's look at image to image in ComfyUI. I'm new to this myself, so I'm very much a newbie, so really I'm not really trying to teach you anything. I'm just showing you what I'm doing and how I'm building my knowledge on image to image. So yeah, so that's what we're going to be doing today. Okay, let's start by taking a quick look at my workflow here for image to image. I've created two groups, which are these blue boxes here. If you want to create a group, just right click and select add group, and then just put in your nodes into the blue box. So so I've got two groups. So I have one which I've called image to image, which just contains all the nodes necessary to complete an image to image task, and I've got a second group here which is just one solitary node called SD prompt reader, and we'll take a bit of a look at that later. So back to my image to image group. This is really very basic. It's built on the, if you were to select load default, you would pretty much get this without the load image and VAE encode. So all I've done really is I've added these two. You will see over here that I've got a couple more nodes which were which are load Nora nodes. I've disabled those for this because they're not really relevant to what we're talking about today. So the only difference, if you were to select load default and you've got your default nodes up, if I just pull this over here just so you get a better look at how this is built. So all I've done in addition to the default is I've loaded the load image node and I've loaded the VAE encode node, and you can see from the connections to that the load image, the image output comes through and goes into the pixels on the VAE encode. The VAE encode, VAE goes into the VAE of the load checkpoint, and on the output latent of the VAE encode, the latent comes into the latent image on the K sampler. Now I'll just move that back down here, otherwise it will set off my OCDs. Okay, so other than that, pretty standard setup. I'm using the checkpoint I'm using today will be the Juggernaut XL, and the on the save image node here you can have preview image or save image depending on how you prefer to work. I prefer to save the image and then afterwards go back and delete the ones I don't like or don't need, so to save space, but some people prefer to preview image so as not to waste disk space. Whatever your choice is. I use prefixes when I remember to on my images. So if I am using the Juggernaut model, I will add a prefix of Jug so that I know at a later date when I'm looking at these images, oh yes, I did that on the Juggernaut model. So that just helps me. Other than that, I also quite prolific at note taking, so I add notes quite a lot. So if I'm using LoRa's, I'll make a note of the trigger words that I'm going to be needing for those LoRa's. Any notes relevant to this workspace, I would put it, workflow, beg your pardon, I would put in here. And usually I always have at the top here, I have the name of this workflow. So if I want to save this workflow, after I've made some adjustments to it, I can then just go to save. You get the save box. You don't get to choose where it saves to. It's a bit of a nuisance, but overtype that. It's the letter there, so let's do that. So yeah, so workflow hyphen image to image v2.json. I got the dot there. Let's whack that in, and we're good to go. And then that will then save that to my downloads, and then from my downloads folder I'll then have to then copy that back into my workflow folder, which I happen to keep in my output folder in my ComfyUI. So yeah, so that's about it. That's my workflow there. You do need, because we're going to be looking at this, if you want to use the SD prompt reader, you will need to install that. So you do need Manager installed. If you don't have that installed, there are plenty of YouTubes that will show you how to quickly do that. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so moving forward, what I want to do is we have this image of this chap here who is definitely not Joe, and we can see here from the prefix on it, it's an image that I generated some time ago using the Juggernaut checkpoint. So what I want to do eventually is I want to generate a new image based on this one, but have the chap smiling and showing his bad teeth. So that's what we're going to do. But before I do that, I wanted to try and demo, if you are new to this like myself, the difference that both the CFG and Denoise can or will make to your image. So what I'm going to do to begin with is I'm going to generate an image in a moment, but I'm not going to add any prompt. So ComfyUI doesn't have any information to go on other than to look at this image. Now, the prompt, the strength of the prompt, how much or how little the prompt is looked at is managed by your CFG. So if you want to tone it down, you would lower the number. Turn it up, you would raise the number a little bit based on your prompts, both positive and negative. Here at the moment, we're not going to have any prompts, so we are just left with the image, and so the denoise factor becomes more important here. Now, if the denoise is set to 1, which it is at the moment, the ComfyUI will have freedom to do whatever it likes, pretty much. If you were to lower this number, the more you lower it, the more it will try to replicate what's in your original image. So by bringing this number down, the image is going to look more and more closely at this and try and match that. The higher you higher the number, you give it more freedom, and hopefully you may get a more adventurous result. But we're going to test those in just a second. So we have, as I've said, we got no prompts. The denoise is on 1. So ComfyUI will look at this image and try to work out what it is and try to produce as a final output into the save image here. Now I suspect with this image, because there's not so much to it, there's a good chance it will guess that there's a person here and there's a plain background to it. So we might, if we're lucky, get something quite similar to a person. It may not know if it's a man or a woman, and it may just throw up anything completely random. And just to give you an example of that, I'll show you something. I was going through this yesterday to see what would happen, and I chose as my input image. Let me just, if I can just bring this up. Yep, can you see that? So I generated this image a few days ago, a female astronaut on Jupiter eating an ice cream, I think was the prompt. Can't imagine why I did that, but I did. So this is the image I generated. I then used that as in the same way that we're using this gentleman here, with no prompts. So the AI did not have a lot to go on. So it would see the white, it would see there's this color in the background. It may or may not work out that that's a face. Would it know that that's an ice cream if I haven't told it in the prompt? Well, let me show you the results I got when I run that. Let's just get rid of that. So I run that with no prompt, and the denoise was on 1, and that 1 is as high as you'd want to go. So, and the results I got, if I can just find my folders. So yeah, run that picture, and the resulting image I got was a dirty old trainer on stuck off something that looks like the cistern on a toilet. So how strange is that? So I thought, oh, okay, that's a bit odd. Let me try run it again and see if we get anything different. So generated exact same details. This time it's worked out that, yeah, I think there's a person there, and that funny planet background, that might be just a color background. So that's what it came up with. So I thought, well, I'll give it one more go. So again, same settings, just tried it again. So I just pressed execute again, and I got that. Now I'm guessing that might represent the background color. There's a splash of white there, but it just showed the diversity of the image that you may get if you're not using prompt. And I think the only lesson I learned from this really is that beer, muesli and cocaine for somebody makes a fine breakfast. Anyway, let's get rid of this. Get rid of this. And that. And let's try and execute our image on Denoise 1 without a prompt, and let's see what we get. Now, as I said earlier, I suspect when I run this that there's a very good chance it will work out that this is some kind of person, and we may even get a plain background. But let's press the button and see what we get. So let's go Q prompt. My computer uses AMD GPU, so it is quite slow. So what I'll probably do is come back in a second when this is finished running. Well, as I expected, it did manage to produce an image of a person, and it was male, with a plain background. So that wasn't such a difficult example image. So yeah, not bad result. Let's do the same thing again, but this time I'm going to drop the denoise value down, right down to 0.2, which I'm hoping should pretty much match the original image that we have here in load image. So let's go to denoise. I'm going to put that down to 0.2. Okay, and let's run the queue again. Again, we've got no text prompts, and we'll come on to those in a moment. Because nothing else has changed in the workflow other than the denoise level on the case sampler, when you rerun it, it will just go to the last node that was changed, which was the case sampler. So this will be a little bit faster. And there we go, almost a perfect match. So yeah, as expected. So that shows the power of the denoise. What we're going to do next is I want to add some prompting, but I want to use the prompts really that I used when I originally created this image, and I've no idea what the details were, not even what, well, I know from the file name that I was probably using Juggernaut, but I don't know what steps or what the prompt words are. So I'm now going to show you the SD prompt reader, which I use to extract the details of the prompts that I used on any image. So let's take a quick look at that. So the SD prompt reader is a node that needs to be downloaded from Manager in ComfyUI. So first of all, I'm just going to activate this. I've had it on bypass before, so let me just make that live. Okay, so to download it, what you need to do, you need Manager for that, and this node is called the SD prompt reader. So if you go to Manager and select Install Custom Nodes, and then type reader, I think. Oh, in fact, I've previously done it, so here it is there. And the node you want to install is the ComfyUI prompt reader node. You can see here I've already got it installed. So you need to install that. You may need to restart your ComfyUI once you've installed that to be able to call it up. Let's just close that, and then once you've done that, you can just add your node. And again, if you just type in reader, and you got it, there you go, and then you would then call it up onto your workflow. So there we go. Now this, I'm sure this particular node does loads of interesting and clever stuff. I just use it in a standalone way just to give me the details, the prompt details of an image of my choice, and then I can go in and play around with the prompts. So first of all, you need to select the image. So if I click if I click on choose file to upload, and we saw that the image that we've been working on is Jug032, which is this one here. I'm going to click on that. This is the image I want to work on. And now to get the details for that, we just need to prompt Q. So what I'm going to do first before that, if I prompt Q now, it will regenerate another image here. I don't really want that, so I'm just going to deactivate this for now. So set group nodes to never will do for now. That should disable that particular group. And now if I click on Q prompt, you'll see there that the prompts change, and we've now got all the details that I used when I originally generated this image. So let's just bring this group back to life, and set group nodes to always should do. Here we go. So I now know that the positive prompt was very simple. I always miss the first letter. It's a skill I have. Let's add in that. Border frame, don't need that. Steps was 42. So now we can start looking at the settings and try and match them. 42 was CFG was 7. That's fine. I was on am I interested in the seed? Model was Juggernaut, so it was Juggernaut. Scheduler, it's on Keras. And DPM++ 3M. Let's go there. It's not going to make that much of a difference. And it was on Denoise 1. So we're going to put the Denoise back to 1. Okay, so we've got the basic settings that I used to generate the image. So I can now hopefully play around this image, and by using the prompts now, so now the CFG strength may or may not become more important. I may need to up or reduce those, whatever. So we've got a photorealistic of a sad old man looking straight ahead. So just going to change that just very slightly just to prove the point. So we're going to say a happy old man. I'm going to give him bad teeth. And we say he's smiling, but if we say bad teeth, that should open his mouth up anyway, because you can't show bad teeth if he's got his mouth shut. So I'm hoping that would be enough to generate to change this image. And yep, so we've got our text now. We will leave it at denoise 1, and don't really need this anymore, so I'm just going to deactivate this. Otherwise, when I generate, it will regenerate this and doesn't cause any harm. Nobody's going to die, but don't really need to be doing that. It's just more of a distraction. So I'm going to set that to never, deactivate that, and we're ready, hopefully, to generate an image again. So let's go Q prompt. Okay, so we've got our final image, and we can see that absolutely bears no resemblance to the original image, and that'll be because the denoise was set to 1 as per the original image. So let's give that one more go, and let's bring this back down. I'm going to bring down to 0.5 midway, and let's see what we get now. Okay, so we've got our final result there. I think that kind of makes the point. It now pretty much matches the prompt. I think the teeth could be a little worse, to be honest, but you could play with upping the CFG to try and add strength to the prompt. But all in all, though, not a bad picture. So just to recap, so we've looked at image to image, starting from the load default workflow. You need to add the load image in the VAE encode. We also looked at how to install the SD prompt reader and use that to obtain the prompt details from any images previously generated in AI. So that's pretty much it, I think. I hope you found this useful. Thank you very much for your time, and goodbye.